Hello guys, Voltalon here, and today we have a very special deck. This deck right in front of you is one that I have been building in secret for quite some time now, and I wanted to get at least one tournament result with it before I talk about it in a video, and I did win a 7-man tournament in the Edo Pro server. Didn't play against any Excuties, but played against a lot of Sky Saviors, which some people would argue is the second best deck, but I personally disagree. That's besides the point though. This isn't a deck that is being played much in Japan. There are builds of like lurker stuff that have shown to have success in Japan, but not a build that looks like this. And in this video, we're going to be looking at this deck and why it works and why I think more people should be playing it. So this deck is Excutie up good stuff. I internally call it Blue Lurk because I think it's funny, but that's besides the point. At its core, this deck is a good stuff deck. And what that means is we're going to be playing multiple cards that are generically good in one deck to make a cohesive strategy. Firstly, the Leo Lurker package. Importantly, Wicked Shadow Dark Lurker can send the top card of your deck to the graveyard to destroy a spell trap card on your opponent's field and inflict 1000 damage to them. Then it returns back to your hand, which is a good thing because it allows you to repeatedly use it over and over and over again, and it allows you to just free up your board space, deal additional damage, and just keep comboing off. And that it works really well with the Joint Tech Leo, which during the turn you normal summon it, you can force your opponent to set a spell trap card from their graveyard to the spell trap zone. And if you have a level 7 or higher Earth Attribute Machine monster in your graveyard, you can also just add that back, which is why we're playing the one Joint Tech Rex, but we'll talk about that later. Importantly, the reason why we're playing this is because it sets spell traps to your opponent's field so that we can pop them again with Wicked Shadow Dark Lurker. Now you might be wondering whether that's too many cards that you need to invest into your combo, and the answer is no. And the reason is because of Progress Porter here, this incredible card that has seen play in many other decks, that has seen play in Thunderbolt, Porter Loop, and in here as well. You can shuffle 5 cards from your graveyard into the deck to shuffle up to 2 cards from your opponent's graveyard into the deck, then draw cards equal to the number of Progress Porter and Pot of Arrows to different names in your graveyard. So with the Pot of Arrows, you can draw up to 2 cards, which is incredible. That's a lot of cards you can draw, and it really helps you dig through your deck, or rather just really fill up your hand and have that tribute folder for the Dark Lurker to be able to pop your opponent's back row over and over and over again. And it's really strong. You can shuffle other copies of itself if you have additional copies of Porter, or you can shuffle back the Necromate Nana, which we're also playing as a good Porter target, which can send itself from the field to the graveyard to place a level 7 from your graveyard on one of your deck and draw 2 cards. And it's a level 5, so you do need to tribute something for it, but that's also good because you still get to empty your board for your other effects like your Wicked Shadow Dark Lurker. Specifically, we want to empty our board for the Galactica Jamaivu, which needs to have no other monsters on your field to activate during the turn you normal summon it. Then you can put 2 spells in your graveyard back into your deck, draw 1 card, which is really good because we have a lot of pretty solid spell cards that we want to put back. And in general, just like a good cantrip type card that just cycles the card for you and just gets you more cards to have more tribute folder for your Dark Lurker to be able to keep doing its thing. And another way that our deck generates tribute folder is with the card Excutie Up, which is it's definitely not a new card, but it's a pretty good one. You can choose 2 face-up monsters with different types on your field, and then both of those monsters can be treated as 2 tributes for a tribute summon of just a monster, any monster that you want. And also your face-up level 6 monster with 500 defense on your field, you can inflict 800 damage to your opponent. Now this is traditionally not what you're meant to use this card for. You are using this to cheat out your monsters like your Lurker to keep just getting your tribute folder on and just popping your opponent's cards. But we are incidentally playing Excutie Flame, which has these stat line requirements for you to deal the 800 bird damage, and 800 isn't a negligible amount of damage. It is definitely like sometimes it can actually come up and help you win the game that way, but it isn't something you should always be concerned with, although if you are able to go for the 800 burn damage, you probably should be going for it. Speaking of Excutie Flame, this is a very good generic card. If opponent has a face-up level 6 monster or higher monster on your field, you can special summon it from your hand face up to your field. Basically, this means that it's going to be live in most matchups. You can just have it as just a free special summon, which basically makes it on par with like a level 4 monster, so you don't really need to worry about breaking on this too much. Its actual effect is you can send 1 card from your hand to graveyard to gain attack to the number of face-up level 6 or higher monsters on the field times 600, and then you can only attack with this card when you use it, which is really good. It lets you get a huge amount of attack and just beat over anything that you really want. And it's why this card is really good. It sees play obviously in Excutie, it's seeing play here, and it's very good generically. You can run it in a lot of decks, and it's just really good as just like in general. Let's go move on to the Dragon package of this deck. We are running the Bluetooth Bird Dragon at 2 copies, 1 Shock Dragon, 3 Phoenix Dragon, and the 3 Lightwave to go with the Bluetooth. The reason why we're on this package is because I didn't want the deck to just be a burn deck. There are builds of it that will focus on stalling your opponent and burning them to death with Lurker. But I wanted my deck to be more flexible and to have more ways of doing different things compared to other variants of Lurker combo, so that is why I chose to run this package. And the reason why I'm choosing to run this package specifically is because the Bluetooth Burst plus Lightwave combo is really strong and lets you wipe any board basically. That's a slight exaggeration. There are some things that are maybe too big for you to out, like maximums or some slightly bigger fusions, but most decks will have less than 3000 attack monsters. So Lightwave plus Bluetooth will be able to help you wipe any of your opponent's face-up monsters and just get in for a huge amount of damage that way. So that is just like another very flexible way for this deck to play. Shock Dragon is another alternative. You can definitely choose to run 3 Bluetooth if you want, but I'm choosing to run the one-off because like you are pretty safe in knowing that you will probably be able to hit your pieces anyway because of the Phoenix Dragon. Whichever one that you want, if you have it engraved, you can just add it back. So if you need your Bluetooth for your Lightwave, you can add that back, or if you want to go for Shock Dragon plays, you can add that back as well. Just assuming you have them engraved, of course. And the Shock Dragon here specifically is another way for this deck to be more flexible. It helps you out the maximums that the Bluetooth Burst Dragon isn't able to out, or can even be played in tandem with the Bluetooth to wipe bigger things that the Lightwave wouldn't be able to help you with. But a really cool thing that this deck can do is use Shock Dragon alongside Flame here. You can use Flame to gain a bigger amount of attack, then use Shock Dragon to debuff your opponent's monster to 0, and then swing in for like 4000 plus damage, which is a really cool line for you to do. So yeah, overall this deck, a lot of really flexible lines, and that's like just part of the reason why is because Proxy Spotter can just shovel back all your pieces that you need. Phoenix Dragon can add them back as well, and you can just go on and on and on again. Going back to the Joint Type Rex here, this technically doesn't matter. This is not a slot that really matters, but it is something to add back to the Joint Type Leo if you do have it in Graveyard. It isn't something that you should always be concerned about, but it is nice to just be able to get that additional tribute folder back to your hand and just keep popping off, because we're also running a 3 ship 7 treasure, so you can use Leo to add back to Rex and then discard it for a ship to just keep drawing cards, which is really good. We've chosen Rex here because it is a level 7 that is generically pretty good. It's kind of similar to Lurker in that you want to use it to destroy back row, but it doesn't do the burn damage, and it doesn't like bounce itself back or anything, so it's just like a one-time use pop and just do stuff with it. You can to use it, you have to shovel 3 monsters of a graveyard into the deck, which allows you to recycle some of your pieces as well. But importantly, just a level 7 Earth Machine they can add back with Leo. That's the most important part of why we're playing it. And to run on the deck, we're also on the 1 Werewolf for Legend card. You can run the Creator also, but I wanted to be a bit more safe in my tribute ratios, so I ended up just going for the 7-2 tributes and using Werewolf as our Legend card. And Werewolf is a really good card. Lets you prevent your opponent from activating trap cards during the battle phase, which allows you to play through things like Mirror Force and whatnot, which is really strong. You can use Bluetooth, Werewolf, and just run in for a big amount of damage. Really important if you're unable to clear your opponent's back row with Lurker or something, and just like a way of neutralizing your opponent's back row and making sure they still have it for your Lurker lines. And we're also on 2 Amazing Dealer. You don't need to play 3 here because it don't really break that much, but it is nice to be able to help you dig through your deck faster. You definitely don't need 3 though in practice. 2 is generally going to be enough. You just need to use it for whenever your hand is like particularly bad. As for spell cards, 3 ships for consistency, 1 stone excavation for the 1 pot of avarice. Most of the time you want to do this way, but you can also add back the 3 executie up if you really need to just guarantee they have tribute fodder. But pot of avarice generally will be getting you tribute fodder also, but it really depends on the situation. Most of the time you want to add pot of avarice to get those cards back. You're also on the 1 future mining here. This is a flex spot here. You don't really have well, personally, I don't really have many other things that I want to run here. You can play like a backbeat or seal array here or something like that. I wanted something for consistency, and Sita money with 3 level 6s isn't particularly great, so I just chose future mining here. But there are definitely a lot of things that you can play here that you can really choose from. As for trap cards, we're on 1 Buffered Slime for those like kind of like OTK setups that you want to protect yourself against. For example, dragons will want to blow up the board and just swing in with your parallel buff gates and your mirroring wyverns and whatnot. Buffer Slime is going to be able to make you live any of those setups. And just getting the extra turn is really nice because you are at your core a combo deck. and a combo deck with a pretty good ceiling, and just getting one extra turn to perform your combo is basically is the difference between you winning or losing basically. But one Kappa's Gas to work with your Shock Dragon and your Lurker. They have really big defense stats, and Kappa's Gas will allow you to make sure it can survive. There are going to be decks that have cards that pump your monsters up just on their boss monster, and Kappa's Gas is going to be able to help you protect yourself against those. For Legend card, we're on Magic Cylinder. We're not on Mirror Force because we're already wiping the board with Bluetooth Burst Dragon, and it's also better into Sky Savior and Excutie, specifically decks that are running Excutie Flame, because they gain a bigger wild attack and you just swing it back at them with the Cylinder. And also Excuties with the Flame obviously can do this line where they just Excutie Flame and then just shift everything else to defense. That is a way that they can really easily just play through Mirror Force, but it plays really poorly into the Magic Cylinder, which is why we are running it here. Side deck, well, one Dragius for slower matchups where you just need the multi-attack to make sure you can close out the game faster, 2 Barrier Statue because it's Barrier Statue, 2 Seal Array for maximum matchups, 2 Backbeat for the mono-type decks like Spellcasters and Dragons and whatnot, 1 Stop Defense for your opposing local combo type decks, 1 Mirror Force in case the Magic Cylinder is just not enough, 2 Crisis for combo decks like local and whatnot, 2 Trap Attacks for decks that are drawing too much, and the additional copy of Buffered Slime and Kappa's Gas if you're playing against like Dragons or whatnot, and Kappa's Gas if you really need to make sure your lurker can actually live on the board. Now, one thing I haven't tried yet but I do want to try is the Drilling Banjo as a way of outing your opponent lurker, because as you can see, lurker is not very easy for the deck to out. You have to use the Flame, and Flame prevents you attacking anything else, which is not great. Your other ways of dealing with lurker is just ignoring it entirely and using Leo to just pop their back row entirely, which is a way of doing it, but it isn't like safe because they still get to keep their lurker and blow up your back row, which is not really good. So you can consider just hiding into Mandrill to be able to flip those into attack position and let you have more like combo lines to go into and just find lethal easier. But yeah, I think that's generally like all the things I will consider for this. Now that we've gone over the deck, let's take a look at some gameplay. Our first match is against Fusion Cyvers, and that's not a particularly relevant deck, but the game still showed off the general game flow of our deck, so I still wanted to show this match off. We'll start the turn here drawing a Lurker, which is really good here as we get the Tribute set it alongside our entire hand here. They draw another back row, they Tribute summon the Silver State Soul, set 2 cards, go to battle, swing over the Light Wave, and pass back to us with 2 back row for our old Lurker to pop, which is really good. Unfortunately, we don't get to go for our Lurker plays just yet, as we don't really have enough Tribute fodder here. Instead, we'll go for the Necromate Nana to use this effect to put the Lurker on the bottom of the deck to draw 2 cards, then go for the Light Wave to debuff the Silver State Soul until the end of the main phase. Tribute summon the Joint Type Rex, shuffle 3, Phoenix Dragon, Nana, and Light Wave to destroy one of the back row, hitting a Quantum Hole, then special summoning the Excutie Flame. Using its effect to discard the Bluetooth, can just add it back with a Phoenix Dragon later on, which is why we are completely fine discarding it right now. And then we go to battle phase, Silver State Soul will go back to 25, but we will use the Excutie Flame to swing over it for 1000 damage and pass back to them because nothing else can attack. They will draw not a very good hand, a lot of back row and no way to really properly defend themselves. They're gonna set as much as they can and pass back, which is perfect food for our Lurker here. We'll Tribute summon the Lurker, activates effect to destroy their Quantum Hole, returning it to the hand. Now we use Joint Type Leo to put their Quantum Hole back into the Spell Trap Zone and add the Joint Type Rex back to our hand, which is a level 7, which we can discard for the Shop Sun triggers. Finding us another Leo, which is pretty good. We'll Tribute up both of our monsters for the Lurker again. Use its effect to destroy the Quantum Hole here and return it to the hand. Then go for a Progress Potter, shuffling 5 monsters here to draw 1 card. XP up is fantastic here. We get to go for a Phoenix Dragon and a Leo before using Leo's effect to put the Rex back into our hand and activating the Excutie up. And then using Phoenix Dragon, discarding the Lurker to add Bluetooth, and using the Excutie up's targets, we get to Tribute summon the Bluetooth and the Joint Type Rex for 1 Tribute. We use the Joint Type Rex to get rid of the last unknown back row here, as we already know these 2 back row from our Joint Type Leo effects. We just need to get rid of the last one, which turns out to be a fusion. Going to battle, we use the Leo to attack over the set monster, turns out to be Yogtron, and then we go direct for exact lethal damage. Our second game is against Excutie, an actually meta-relevant deck. Let's see how our deck performs. We'll draw for turn, set Lurker and pass back to them. Lurker really good against the Excutie matchup, and we'll see exactly why here. They'll draw a Dragon Lion Pit Trap, Noble Summon on the floor, set 3 and swing into the Phoenix Dragon. Not a very good hand from them, which puts us in a very good position to capitalize on that fact too. And they'll pass back. We'll draw here a pretty good hand here. We'll go for the local and we'll destroy the leftmost back row, which luckily for us turns out to the Dragon Lion Pit Trap. If we had not hit that, then our local could have gotten disrupted with it. So lucky that we actually hit it here. We'll go for a ship here, discard a Bluetooth and draw 2 cards. Then we'll go tribute over the Pitch Black Warwolf for the Necromate Nana. This is fact to put the Bluetooth on the bottom of the deck and draw 2 cards. Then we'll go for a Light Wave here, mill 2, and debuff the Flower until the end of the main phase. Special summon the Flame here and normal the Leo, activating the Excutie up here, dealing 800 damage because he had the Flame on board, and targeting the Light Wave and the Leo here. We'll go for a tribute summon of a Lurker here for 1, activating its right to destroy the Heavily Selection, returning it to the hand, then going for Joint Hand Leo to set the selection back and tribute over it for the Lurker to destroy the other unknown back row. Then we'll go for a Progress Portal here to shuffle back 5 cards and draw 1 card. Drawing into another Progress Portal, we'll go for a Light Wave here to mill 2 cards and then debuff it furthermore. We'll go for a Lurker here, then we'll double summon the Progress Portal before we activate Lurker here to activate Strike to shuffle some cards back and draw 1 card here. Now we should have activated the Flame here because the Lurker is still on board for the Flame to see and gain their actual attack. But we forgot to do that and we use the Lurker here to destroy the last back row here. And then we use the Flame to discard the Porter to gain the attack and then go to battle phase and swing in for a chunk of damage and pass back to them. We choose not to discard the Lurker here as we want to make sure we can threaten our opponent's back row here. If they do set back row on the next turn, then we can respond to that using our Lurker to burn them out for game here. So that's definitely something that our opponent has to look out for. Unfortunately, don't really draw that much back row here. They go for a special summon of Lumiere, then go for the Sintamani to discard the other Lumiere to draw 2 cards. Then on special summon Protea activates Spectre mill 1 to gain 500 life points, and tribute over it for the Flower and then add back the Proudy. Tribute over the Sea Dragon Light, activate the Proudy's effect again to mill 1 to give 500 life points, and then tribute over it for a Flame. Go to battle phase, swing over all of monsters and just poke in for a big little bit of damage here. And then we'll just pass back here. Where we draw not a great hand here, we'll use the ship to discard the Lurker and draw 2 cards, and we'll go for a Jamaibu here. Shuffling 2 spells back into the deck to draw 1 card here. We didn't really care if we didn't actually draw something to tribute over it here because at the buffer time to make sure that we didn't die. So we do end up drawing the tribute monster in the form of the Bluetooth burst here, so we just set everything and pass back. We're not really that worried about them dealing that much damage here. They have to read that the set monster is not something like a Lurker. And we just generally shouldn't be taking too much damage with 2 set monsters facing down no Lucy's yet. So we're in a pretty good position here. They go for a selection here to destroy the Excutie up. Then we'll shift everything to defense to play around Mirror Force, activating the Excutie Flame here to try to hit into a Lurker here. Discarding the Bear Statue, going to battle phase, hitting over, unfortunately, the Bluetooth for them here. So that allows us to go back to alt turn where we just set 3 and pass back. Again, not really much threat here unless they draw like a Dark Hole or something. They draw here more back row that they can't allow themselves to set because we run Lurker here. They go to battle phase, swing it here. Just swing into the 3 here and passing back to us, no damage dealt here. Where we will draw here a pretty good hand. We'll go for the Galactica Jamaibu, shuffling back the ship and the Excutie up to draw 1 card. Then we'll go for a ship to just discard 1 Flame here to just draw 1 card to just free out our back row here. And we go for another ship here because we drew into a Joint Hand Rex to draw even more cards. Then we go for a Future Mining here, which unfortunately whiffs here. We should have gone Port of Avarice first to shuffle back more monsters so that we can have a higher chance of not whiffing the Future Mining, but oh well, that's fine. We'll go for a Port of Avarice here to shuffle back 5 cards here and draw 2 cards here. Then we'll go for a Joint Hand Leo, activates effect to set a Sintamani for them and add Joint Hand Rex, which we will probably discard all the ship to summon treasures to draw 2 more cards. Then we'll go for a special summon and a normal summon of Flame. And then we realize we already have lethal here, so we'll just go for the Flame. Discard the Light Wave, gain a bunch of attack, and we deal exactly 3000 damage over their own Flame. So those games showed off how our deck works when we draw well. But what if we're playing against an opponent who knows what they're doing, who knows how our deck works and knows how to counterplay it? This is the finals match from the 7-man tournament that I mentioned earlier in the video. And the project name is Edo Pro server, and this is against Sky Savior, a well-respected deck and has definitely put in some results over in Japan. So let's see how our deck performs here. They'll go first. They'll activate Sky Savior Witnesses here, revealing 2 cards and finding off the top a copy of. They choose to go for the Dunks here to go for Fusion Line here To normal summon the Soleo, activates effect to change it to a lure and check top 4 for another fusion if they do find it, which unsurprisingly they do not, because they already have one at the bottom of the deck and already have another one in hand, which they will be using here alongside the dunks to fusion into a Jukeboard here, setting the Toro and passing back to us. We will draw here. That's a completely fine hand. We do have Amazing Dealer here, but we have no reason to actually activate it here, since our hand is just completely fine anyway, so just send and pass here. And they will draw here a Guildford, which is really good here. They'll use a Guildford to shuffle 2 warriors back into the deck and get the ability to attack into 3 monsters here. They'll normal summon the Bear Statue, attack into all 3 monsters, and then directly for 29 plus 1000 and pass back to us, where we draw here. Now we do choose to use the Amazing Dealer here, because we do want to desperately at least find something here. Well, because we do not want to just get blown out by a Guildford the Rising here, so we want to make sure we have some line of play here. So we use the Amazing Dealer here, discard 3 monsters and draw. We find a lot of ships here, but we do at least get something to discard off of the ship to draw 2 cards. And again, discarding Giant Rex to draw 2 more cards. Then going for the Excutie Flame, discarding the Phoenix Dragon to gain a bunch of attack, sending the rest of our hand and going to battle, attacking over the Jukeboard here, the thing that if I had set Lurker, it would have been able to attack over, so we want to make sure our Lurker is uncontested here. So attack over the Jukeboard here and pass back. And let's see what they draw here. They go for a normal summon of the Yamiura Supreme Soldier Spear, a normal summon an Astral Bio Drake, set the Mirror Force, and because they know what deck we're on, because they already saw the Lurker in Graveyard, they choose not to set the fusion again, because we could just use a Lurker to pop their fusion if we had drawn into it again. They go to battle phase and just swing it in here. We choose to use the Magic Cylinder here as a way of preserving our life points. If we had taken a hit, we would have gone down to 500 life points, which would have meant that if we had gone for any future flame plays, it would have been super fragile. So we chose to use the cylinder here to do a chunk of 2500 and pass back here. They will pass back here rather. We will draw here a Pot of Arrows, which is really good here. We'll shuffle 5 cards back into the deck and draw 2 cards as we find off the top. More flames. We choose to go for a Soul Excavation to add back the Avarice and go again. Let's see what we draw this time here. We'll shuffle back even more cards and find off the top a Jawaivu, which allows us to go even further. We'll shuffle 2 cards here and draw 1 more card, going for finding a Progress Portal here. We'll just special summon the flame, tribute summon the other flame, set more cards, activate the one of the flames effect to discard the Progress Portal and gain a bunch of attack. Attack over the Astral Bio Drake here, because we don't really care about our opponent's tribute monsters here, especially since we already have the Kappa's Gas to make sure that we can survive here. They'll go for Mirror Force here to not take too much damage here, and we'll pass back to them. If they had the Magic Cylinder here, they would have won the game already. But they do not, so we still live for another turn. They'll go for a Tribute Summon of Guildford the Rising, activate his effect to shuffle the 2 warriors that they just tribute over to get the triple attack. Then normal summoning Toro, set a Witness, go to battle, attacking over the set monster first, which is a mistake here, because we do get to activate the Kappa's Gas here to reduce it all the way 500 life points, 500 attack rather, which means that they can't actually destroy the 600 defense Werewolf here, which forces them to use their 2 other monsters to attack into them and pass back to me. And we will draw here a okay hand. We'll start with a ship, discarding the Lurker, drawing 2 cards. Then we'll go for a Light Wave here to mill 2. Then we'll just set the other Light Wave and trigger set the Lurker and then set our 2 cards and pass back. Because we know the matchup here and their board is already quite clogged, we know that it is very unlikely for them to be able to out this Lurker, so they'll just probably just pass back to us here. They will draw here, not a great hand here. They'll set their 2 other monsters to the defense, use the Witnesses to make sure we can't pop it here. Finding off the top, it really doesn't matter here, they just want to get it out of the spell trap zone. They do add the Astral Bio for later, and they just pass back here. And this would be a problem if our deck was just a burn deck with Lurker, but it is not just that. We'll use Phoenix Dragon, discard the Excutie up to add the Blue 2 burst back to hand. That will tribute it for the Nana, setting the Lurker at the bottom of the deck, draw 2 cards. Then we use the Show Some Treasures to discard the Blue 2 burst to draw 2 more cards. And then we'll find a Joint Tech Leo here, which allows us to set their Mirror Force and add back the Joint Tech Rex. Then we'll flip the Lurker back up, activate its effect to destroy that Mirror Force and bounce it back to the hand. We'll go for a Phoenix Dragon, we'll discard and add back the Bluetooth. Then we'll special summon the Flame, activate the Excutie up, dealing 800 damage and allowing the Phoenix Dragon and the Leo to be tributed for these Joint Tech Rexes and the Bluetooth Burst here, which allows us to activate the Bluetooth Burst effect to destroy the Toro and the Astral Bio Drake here to gain attack and go in for a lethal push here, which is going to be enough to end the game. Game 2 here, let's see how our opponent responds to our game plan here. They did draw the Abyss Soldier here, which is definitely really good against the local here. It's one of their main ways of actually outing our 2600 wall here. To start with Solio finding off the top, let's see if they hit their fusion. And they did actually hit it, so they are able to go into the Drukmore here. Fusing both the Dunks and the Lure in quotation marks to go into that Drukmore, setting their cards and passing back here. We don't really have much else to do here, so we'll just set everything and pass back here. And they will draw here a Guildford, which is really good here. They'll go for the Guildford, activate Spectre Shovel 2 Warriors, and get the triple attack. Normal summon the Abyss Soldier, go to battle phase and swing in, deal a huge chunk of damage, and pass back to us here. Very precarious position here because we can't just set Lurker because they have both the Drukmore to attack over it and the Abyss Soldier to bounce it. So let's see what we draw here. Not particularly great here. We do have a ship to discard the Shock Dragon, which we can add back to the Phoenix Dragon if we need to draw 2 cards. And then we'll go for the Phoenix Dragon because we will be adding that Shock Dragon right back. Going for it here, special summoning the Flame here, activating the Flame to discard the Leo, and getting a bunch of attack, then using the Shock Dragon to debuff the Drukmore down to 0. And we normal summon the Pitch Black Werewolf here, just in case they have something here to prevent our Flame from going through here. And we do get to deal 4000 damage and pass back to them. Where they will draw here, unfortunately they already had a Guildford in hand, so they are able to punish us for leaving this Werewolf and attack here. They'll shuffle 2 Warriors back, gain a triple attack, set to go to battle phase and go in for a huge amount of lethal damage here. As Guildford Rising, that's a very strong card. That was certainly a pretty unfortunate turn of events for us. Let's see how we come back in game 3. We'll draw a card, set everything and pass back. We keep the Flame in hand because we know they're on Sky Saviors and we need the Flame in case they end up making a turn 1 Altiera or Drukmore or something along those lines here. They'll draw here a tribute summon of a Soldier Spear, set a card, go to battle phase, swing over the Light Wave and pass back. Again, they know that we're on Lurker because it's in game 3, so they choose not to set the traditional attacks here to prevent us from just getting free burn damage here. We'll draw here, and we'll just go Flame here, activate the Flame, discarding the Porter, and swing over the Soldier Spear and passing back. This is the beauty of this deck, where even if your opponent is trying to play around your Lurker, you do have other lines of play that let you do more things than just using Lurker over and over again. For example, this Flame here, which we are able to use to attack over the Soldier Spear and pass back to them. Where they will draw here more back row for us to chew on. They will use the Torero here to shuffle 3 cards and shift that Flame back to defense here. Set everything because if they don't set everything here, they are going to be behind for the entire game here, so they are forced to play into the Lurker here. They go for the Torero to attack into the Flame here and pass back to us, where we get a really strong turn here. We'll go for a Lurker here, activating the effect to destroy one of their back row. We hit a Fusion here. Then we'll go for a Light Wave to mill 2. And then we'll go for a Joint Attack Leo, activating attack to set their Fusion right back. Then we'll go for the Excutie up and tribute the Leo for the Lurker, activating attack to destroy one of the other back row, which is traditional attacks. Then we'll use the Lurker to destroy the other back row, which is another traditional attacks. There's a theory of traditional attacks being good against combo decks like us, but because Lurker is able to destroy them before you go for your draw power, it isn't necessarily a good silver bullet for the matchup here. Speaking of, we'll go for the Progress Porter here and activate here and shuffle 5 cards and shuffle back one of the traditional attacks to draw 1 card here. And unfortunately, we do not get the tribute for that I wanted to here, so we just set our Lurker here, normal summon the Flame here, tribute summon over the Flame here, and then normal summon the Bear Statue on the Inferno to attack into one of their set monsters and pass back here because the Light Wave effect is only active during the main phase. Normal summoning Bear Statue here means that the fusion that I gave back to them for the Joint Attack Leo is basically unusable here unless they find enough tribute monsters to tribute and activate the Caesar Terror and free up space for the fusion materials here. So let's see what we draw here, and not particularly great here. They'll just set the cards here and swing over the statue and pass back to us here, where we have even more back row to chew on here. We'll go for a Lurker here to destroy one of the back row here, and we hit a fusion here. Then we are forced to go into the Pot of Avarice here because we could technically tribute over the Progress Porter and Joint Attack Leo for the Lurker to destroy the other back row, but that was risking us bricking on drawing not enough tribute fodder off of the Pot of Avarice and consequently dying here. So we choose to go for a safer line, looking at our own hand here, to go for the Pot of Avarice to make sure that we can get full value out of all our cards. Shuffling back 5 cards here and drawing 2 cards here. Unfortunately, they do have another traditional attacks, but we do have a really big hand, so let's see what they hit here. That is pretty lucky. They hit both our Bluetooth and the Lurker here, which is very important for us. Instead, we'll go for a Shop 7 Treasures here to discard the Shock Dragon and draw 2 cards. Going for a Galactica Jamaivu here, shuffling 2 spells here and drawing 1 card. Finding a Phoenix Dragon here, which is really good here. We'll go for a Progress Porter here to draw even more cards here. Drawing 2 cards because I have both the Progress Porter and the Pot of Avarice in the graveyard. That's a pretty good one. We'll start with a ship here. Deciding Leo to just draw one card, and there is the Moneymaker. We'll go for the local here to destroy that fusion and deal that 1000 damage here. Then we'll go for the joint attack Leo here, activating its effect to set their fusion right back and then tribute over it for the local here to destroy their back row and deal additional 1000 damage. And now because we have this Phoenix Dragon in hand here, we'll go for the Phoenix Dragon, adding back the Shock Dragon, tributing over our monsters and using Shock Dragon's effect to debuff the Torero all the way to 0 attack and attack in for exactly lethal damage. And now we're back with the deck. Overall, as you have seen in the games, the deck is very flexible. While the local combo stuff is one way the deck can win, there are other ways the deck can end the game without the need to destroy your opponent's back row, using your Bluetooth lines or your Shock Dragon plus Flame lines or just Flame entirely is also a really strong card. There are just a lot of ways for this deck to kill your opponent in whatever fashion they want, depending on the cycle of cards that they have in hand. And obviously that is made more possible with the cards like Progress Portal and Pot of Arrows that let you draw your whole deck basically, and like put back the important stuff back into the deck and keep drawing cards over and over and over again. But the main thing that this deck should be trying to do is the local stuff, which is also really strong. Just like all of the good stuff pieces like come together to form this really powerful, very versatile, flexible kind of game plan, which is why I really like this deck as a whole. There is one thing compared to playing other local combo decks that it is trying to be more of a jack of all trades kind of deck. So it's not as good as doing local stuff compared to other variants of local combo. So there is that one trade-off for that flexibility there. But I personally prefer the ability to do other things than local compared to being hyper-focused on the local loop burn your opponent style of gameplay. Just being able to have more things to do allows you to do better into more matchups, which is a personal preference of mine. There definitely you can consider the building your deck in a way that where it is more streamlined into one specific function, but personally I prefer the ability to have more different branching paths compared to the one singular win con. If you prefer if you just want a deck to do a very specific function, then this deck won't be for you. But if you like a flexible deck like me and like having options to play around with, then this is definitely the deck to choose. It has a really good Excutie matchup, it has a really good Sky Savior matchup. Apparently, it's a matchup that I didn't actually consider, but you do have a pretty good matchup into that. And it's pretty good. Now I will say this deck is more of an anti-meta kind of deck. Because Excuties right now just aren't really built to play through local very well, with some exceptions in the side deck. So if we go to a faster format in the future, this will be maybe less good, but the combination of Leo plus local plus Porter is still really good and still allows you to basically just scum any matchup just by popping back row over and over and over again. So that is definitely one thing this deck has going for it. So yeah, overall this deck is really strong. I hope that more people pick up the local style of gameplay. Not just this deck, but like just more decks that are trying to abuse local to win and blow up your opponent's back row until they cannot respond against your strong plays. And yeah, overall, I will highly suggest picking this deck up if you want a very flexible, very complex kind of gameplay to try out. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.